Yes, good morning. Still joining us is the Weekend Show, and this is that place we discuss trending issues in the society as they affect us. And this morning we want to look at the act of publishing. What does it entail for some people who would want to explore career in that aspect? How would you get there? How would you succeed in that field, Lucy?
Yeah, actually, I think it's actually a nice topic, especially for all those people that publish nonsense. I'm sorry to use that word. All these people that publishes nonsense, and then they'll come to all the car parks and to sell them. It's actually a show for you. Today, it's your day. Actually, when you listen, I'm sure that the next edition of your book or your next book is going to come out better. And to do justice to that, we have a young man, a handsome gentleman, who we'll get to find out if he's still in the market later. Okay, so I'm talking about Charles. Charles, I love your smile. It's very bright.
Thank you.
So, please help me pronounce your surname again. I'm so
Idemobi.
Idemobi,
Yeah.
or I think you're Europeanizing it.
No, that's actually
Americanizing it.
No, that's actually how we said. Like
Idemobi.
Just like Nabi.
No. So is it Idemobi?
No, Idemobi. That's like
Idemobi. Now I got it. Thank you. Now we can start this conversation.
Yes, and Charles is a publisher, a writer, an author, and he specializes more in soccer, and he's also a coach. So probably we'll be exploring different topics as someone in different fields. You studied you studied kinology and sports management.
Yeah.
Also, your master's is also in that field.
But you're writing.
But you're writing now.
Yeah.
Before we begin to look at the act of publishing, tell us, what does it mean for you exploring this career of writing when in certificate you are from somewhere else?
It's actually related because kinesiology and sports, like when you pick the course, like you get to choose and narrow down your options because in your first year it's kind of like broad, but as you continue to advance, you start to figure out what it is you can actually become an expert in. I actually coach, and I've coached through the younger levels. I've coached through U14, U15, up to U16. So my writing style is mainly sports. So I write from a sports course. So like this is my book, and the first one, it has like sports. So when I write it, I try to achieve many things to kill many birds with one stone. I try to show I'm a sports expert. For instance, if a soccer coach picks up this book, he's going to read a few things and he's going to be like, you're actually watching the soccer game real life. But I don't want to make it too boring for people who are not like all into sports. That's why we try to mix certain elements like love, family, marriage and stuff. Then we put a little bit of sports. That's how I wrote my first book, and the second one is basically the same.
Okay, when you said you write from the sports point of view, it doesn't mean that you apply the technicalities of sports or you tell the story of sports. Let me get what you mean. Because let me take, for example, someone in art or someone that did art, when he wants to write, he writes more poetic, telling the story of artwork, appreciation, imagination. For you, is it that you tell the story from the tactics of sports, angle, or is it that you tell the story of football?
Actually, not like from the tactics, because if I were to talk about soccer tactics, it's not like that interesting for people to read it off a book, especially people who don't like. People like her wouldn't like feel like reading it. But the reason why she read this is like the sports in it is like so subtle. Like when I talk about an athlete, instead of focusing about the tactics and stuff, I talk about things she wouldn't know, because these guys have a normal life, his weaknesses, his strengths, how he overcomes it. For instance, when there's a player transfer, this is a perfect example. For instance, when Neymar moves from Barcelona to PSG, there are like things involved that doesn't like relate to people who don't understand sports, because he's moving to a different country. He has to get used to the food. He may have had a girlfriend in his other place and he has to move to somewhere else. So like when you put in all this, it brings him out like as a person, as opposed, because sometimes so people can say, oh, like, you know what, I relate to this guy, I know what this is going through. So when people read my books, when next they hear of a player transfer, they're going to understand it's not just he's moving clubs, he's moving cities, he's moving countries.
He's changing
his life. Yeah, changing cultures, and like it comes with like a whole different like ball game, because I tell you how he will search for an apartment, how like he got used to his new place, what's close to him, is it the mall, what does he like to eat. So those are the things like I try to combine. Then I also try to mix it with like strong emotions like love, family,
'Cause
like
it
crime.
sells.
Yeah, because those are the things we see in our everyday life, right? Because I
Okay.
try to make these books like something like when you read, you can relate to as a
relate
person, as opposed to just because if I were to just talk about soccer tactics, kick the ball up, kick the ball down.
Yeah,
that
people
wouldn't
like
be
me
such
won't read that.
Yeah, she wouldn't read that.
Okay, so let's go down to you as a writer. But before we go to you as a writer, because I have observed that writers, most times their environment have an influence. So you don't stay in Nigeria. No. Have you ever been based in Nigeria?
Oh yeah, I did my high school here. I left after high school.
Okay, after high school.
Yeah.
So obviously, there's a huge difference between life here and life there. So which actually influenced you and made you say, I really want to be a writer? Is it your life here in Nigeria or your life there?
I think it's mostly my life there. When I was here in Nigeria, I was a different kind of person because I was younger and I was in my comfort zone, to put it simple. And when you're in your comfort zone, you don't really achieve much. So up until I left here, it's almost like I was daydreaming through life, because when I went there, I had to stand for myself. I had to realize it's just me. So if I don't find out what to eat tomorrow, I'm gonna be hungry, right?
So writing is all about putting food on the table.
No, not really. You don't quite when you go into a career just wondering about the economic part, it's just you're setting yourself up for failure.
So are we going to say that your new environment helped you to identify a skill you're supposed to have that you've not developed?
Yes, my new environment helped me get to know myself more. It provided me with the resources to get to explore things. I've tried certain things, I've failed, and it helps you get to self-discovery. That's but when it comes to writing, I do that to because I like to influence the way people think from my own perspective, and I don't do that in a way that I'm going to go on Facebook and say, Buhari is a corrupt man. I don't like to shake certain tables, and I like to understand that everyone deserves respect in a way. For instance, if you have an attitude I don't like, I'm just going to learn how to control myself around you, as opposed to telling you, you need to change. I like to
change yourself.
Yeah, I like to give people the respect they deserve, because I feel when I do that, then I'm motivating you to do the same thing to me.
All right.
Okay, that's nice.
When Lucy was starting, when Lucy was starting, she mentioned something about the kind of quality materials, content, and products that we see in motor parks and in Nigeria. Even, just forget about motor parks. When you get to some university settings in Nigeria, you barely read maybe a 5-page
okay, so I don't want to shake any table, but there was a book that was so overrated. I kept hearing about it. A very popular book. It had a lot of endorsements from big names. And then I picked up that book and I read just the first chapter. I was so discouraged. Grammatical errors. And now you're telling me you're writing... no, not typographic. Grammatical, because this author was trying to make me understand that he's writing about a university setting. But then the conversation he kind of drafted for the students, the English was not, it was more of a kindergarten English. And you're telling me that somebody met the roommate, or maybe in a classroom, the lecturer is teaching, this is the kind of English the lecturer is speaking. I just felt discouraged from the chapter 1. But then he had a lot of endorsements. So I'm happy you're here to answer my question, because I'm really furious about books I read.
The question now is, someone will say that why we shun out those kind of products here is because of the challenges. And that outside where you are based, that things are easier there. What is the ecosystem?
To be honest, you wouldn't say things are easier there. It's always easy to think the grass is greener on the other side, and it almost never is. The thing is, out there, the publishing companies are more disciplined. When an author writes a book, it's really not up to him to get it error-free. Because I write as well.
I think even photocopying shop, they can publish book for you.
Yeah, here I saw a publishing company by Unizik Junction. It was just basically a few things joined together and publishing company. And it makes me wonder why anyone in their real sense would go there. Even on their sign, you could see errors. On their sign, the the business sign. Yeah, there are errors, there are things that don't belong. So when you see stuff like that, you don't go to people like that. It's just like you're begging to fail. These writers, like, I don't think it's their job to get it error-free, right? Because a writer, it's really hard to write a book because you have to come up with this character's name. You have to like empower them at the rich, at the poor. So when you do all that, as a publisher, you've done enough. Like, because it's division of labor, right? So when you write these books, it's the editor that makes the book good, better.
Whose job is it to get the editor for you? You the writer or the publishing
It depends
company?
how you publish, right? Like, if you're, some people self-publish, and that's why you see so many bad quality books.
Because that's the issue I want to raise. Some people don't have second editors, second line editors that will look through their work.
Some people don't even have the first one. Some people just write it and they read it and it's good to them. But the thing is, when it's your work, you're not going to see the errors. Like, you'll be blind. It's just like the same way we can't see our weaknesses. Almost everybody out there would say, oh, like, I think I'm good to go. But it's not like that, right? You're kind of like...
So the act of self-publishing, are we going to say is selfishness or ego? What makes people to, you know, that this is the system? In journalism,
this
we have
this
is the due process. In journalism, we have a lot of gatekeepers before your story goes on air. Now, for a publisher who is publishing maybe something more than 200 pages, and he insists he becomes his personal editor, is it ego? Is it selfishness? Is it non-regulation in the system?
No, I don't think it's any of that. Mostly, it could be financial. Because you have to understand, like, because when we started as a publishing company, we asked ourselves this: what is it that makes people not go with other publishing companies? Because this is the thing in life. If you're not different, then you're just the same with everyone else, right? So the main reason, for instance, if you go online and Google, like, oh, you're trying to publish a book. For instance, if you're in Canada, publishing companies will start to call you. Their sales agents will start to call you, like, but these guys are calling you to find out how much you have, how much you can pay them to publish. And let's say they ask you to pay $2,000. It's not every time people have $2,000 sitting around waiting to send out to you to publish for them. So because of the cost and because of all this, like, things like because some of these guys, they have really pushy agents, right? They call you like 17 times a day. So because of all this, some people will be like, you know what? I'm just going to publish this and use my friend Tunde to edit it. That's the recipe for a bad book. Because when you do it, Tunde may publish it, may edit it, but he may not do it like really well. And that's even in a good case scenario. Sometimes people decide to do it alone because they say, you know what, I'm just going to do this, edit it, and try to sell it and make $2 million. That's the thing. That's why writing a book is not really about the income thing. You have to focus on writing a good book first. That when someone picks up, they can like read it and understand it. They don't drop it after the first chapter like she did.
Okay, so please, you're a publisher now. You own a publishing company.
Yeah.
Where?
In Canada, Calgary.
Okay, so obviously, if I say, how long have you been into publishing?
Oh, like I wrote my first book. I've been writing for a long time, but our business is just a year old.
Okay, so you've been a publisher for a year.
Yeah.
If you see a writer, what are the qualities of a writer? What do you think I should have so I can tell myself that, see, I'm a writer? Because honestly, I've seen a lot of people who are actually writers who shouldn't be there. Sometimes you see somebody that tell you I'm a motivational writer. He will write like how to get rich this, how to make money in 20 days. Meanwhile, he doesn't even have a...
That's true. That's like a big problem.
What do you think a person should see in him or her to say, I think I can be a writer, or I'm a writer? Or is it everybody that can be a writer?
No, not everybody can be a writer. But when it comes to writing, just like every other serious thing you want to succeed in life, they're just like, the rules are the same. It's just like, if you want to be a medical doctor, you need to know how to get up early. You need to know how to focus on what you're doing. Me, for instance, I can sit in this spot for 13 hours doing one thing. I wouldn't be tempted to look at my phone and stuff. And that's like discipline I built. The only thing that differentiates a writer from other professionals, because the professional skills are the same: discipline, attention to detail. It's just the same thing with your job. It's the same thing everywhere. There's just one key difference when it comes to writing. You have to be creative.
So creativity.
Creativity is the main thing to become a writer. That's why when you go on our website, we tell people, like, we write articles like how to overcome writer's block, how to like develop your own creative technique. Because when you start to write, you need to get to know yourself. That's a big problem for people. Some people don't know themselves that much, but they know Iniedo. Yeah, and that's a big, because me, like, I know myself more than anybody else. I know when my creative time is. And when I want to write, I know I function better during the hours of 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. Yeah, because that's the time the brain is really fresh. That's the time not many people are calling you on your phone. That's the time it's quiet outside. Like, almost everybody is sleeping. So if you're up, you're going to do work. But for some people, it could be during the daytime. Maybe let me tell you something weird. I once read about a writer that he cannot write anything creative unless he's naked. Yeah, so this guy, for him to like produce good, but you only discover that when you know yourself. Because for you to know that, you need to do some self-searching. So for him to write, and he writes excellent books.
Okay, you're talking about how those people have identified themselves. I want to look at from the angle that I'm a writer, and I come to Charles Ellis to publish a book. What are the things you see, the potentials I'll display, and you say, this person is someone that is going somewhere, but he needs some coaching. This person is a sellable material. What are those things you see?
It's not really about the individual, it's about what they write. For instance, like how we do is, we don't charge people any fee to publish. That's what makes us different. Because I mentioned to you guys, if you're not different, because we ask ourselves, what is it that scares people away from other guys? That's one of the main things, because they'll ask you to pay.
So how do you make your income?
We make our income when we sell your books. For instance, if you come to us, we're going to take your manuscript and review it. When we look at it, regardless of the grammatical errors, when it's good, we tell you, you know what, we can publish this book for you, John, and we pay you a publisher's advance. This is how we show you. You haven't paid us, we are paying you. This is how we show you we have faith in you. You know what, we can sell this. Because we like to put our money where our mouth is. If we tell you we can sell it, we're in a position where we can give you some money first, then get it back when we sell it. When we now take these books, our editors work on it. They edit it, even if it's 7 times. They send it back to you. That's why the skills are the skills you need to be a medical doctor. You need to be humble. You need to be disciplined. When we tell you, redo this chapter, it's not good enough. You redo it. And the reason why people listen to us is because we take them at face value. We take you like, none of our guys are like bestsellers yet. But our goal is to like take them from where they are to where they become bestsellers.
Wouldn't those your clients begin to consider that exploitative? Probably you paid a pre-publishing cost, and then after you made more, and they feel like this publisher just exploited me because he feels I'm coming up.
No, they do royalties. We have royalties, right? They're the same with every other publisher. But the thing is, other publishers will charge you to publish. Then they give you royalties when they sell your book. You always get royalties as an author. Like when your books sell, you get like a percentage of the, like, we do that like every 3 months. But even before that comes in, even before you start to get that, we like give.
Well, what if when you pick a book, that your strategy, what if you pick a book and then publish and discover that this is not a market?
It's not possible.
Who take the cost?
That's what he's saying. I think he's saying you're going to look at the material.
Yeah, we're going to look at the material. We're going to know it's sellable. Even like before, that's why we review it first. We look at it. We ask ourselves real question. Okay, what's the market audience? What people are we selling this to? What age group? What country? What languages can we change this to? We ask ourselves all these questions before we even take it. When we take it, it means we've told you yes.
And certainly it will.
We can do this.
So you've not had an experience where after those review, it came out bad at the market?
Things go in business, things don't always go as you plan it. And there's like, when you write a book, you can sell it for the next 17 years, for the next 72 years. So even like, it doesn't matter to us, like the publishers advance, because we make money like from other things. We write articles and all that. So like our guys, our authors are like, this is how we work like a record label. We have certain writers signed to us. And when you're a guy, we'll do everything to help you succeed. We don't care if it's not selling now. I really
wanted to find out now you're based in a part of the world where we feel that's where all the good materials when it comes to books come from. So down there, do you think writers make any mistake? Because in Nigeria, me as a layman can actually mention a lot of mistakes writers make. So now, as a publisher, speaking from the angle of authority, because you're a publisher, so you're like the end product of every work passes through you before it gets to us. What are the mistakes you think a writer makes that kind of, how do I put it, like kind of puts a stop to his shine? Like I've been writing very well, I've been shining for a long time, then all of a sudden, boom, I disappear.
Well, I guess that's if you stop writing. If you've written like 13 successful books and you stop to write.
Stop writing entirely.
Yeah.
But then I think there are some writers that when you see one of their works, you're like, no, I think this person writes better than this.
That's the thing. Some books it's just like movies, right? Some movies may be good and the others are better. Like you would say, you know what, I prefer this. But this is the thing. It's normal that some people like this book more than the other one. People have preferences because the one you like, for instance, if there's James Hadley Chase, let's say he has 17 books. Some people will like one and they won't like the others. But that's okay. But you know what's not okay? To find errors in those ones, to find mistakes. People's choices depend on them. That's not like, because they're like unlimited numbers of people in this world.
To go. Now, we have listeners who are not in Calgary, Canada, who are exploring different disadvantages or challenges here in Nigeria. What will be your message to them as we go?
My message to them is never to publish without a professional publisher. When you do that, you're guaranteed going to like find it difficult. It's very hard to, because this is the thing. Self-publishing is good, but even when you take it to bookstores, because the thing these publishers do is like, they pass it through a gateway of editors, reviewers, people that make your book solid by the time it comes through. So let's say this is the manuscript when you send it. By the time it goes through the first period of editing, it becomes 30% good. When it goes through
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Charles Edemobi, author, publisher, for being on the show this morning. This is where we'll round up the discussion segment for this morning. We explored the topic of acts of publishing this morning, and we were able to explore issues in that dimension. Then, if you want to, the show continues with the breakfast news, so stay with us as we run.